Is J-Rob about to have his hobby moment? We'll discuss that, the Montreal Expo, and more on this week's edition of the Hockey Card Haven podcast. Hello and welcome. This is the Hockey Card Haven podcast with Mike DiStefano and Anthony Santini, here to dive deep into the world of hockey card collecting, flipping, and investing. On today's show, Anthony's going to review his weekend at the Montreal Expo, so that'll be a lot of fun. Excited. We haven't talked about it yet, so happy to hear what your experience was like. He was boots on the ground. Dallas took a 2-1 series lead on Edmonton thanks to a Jason Robertson hat trick. So we'll take a look at how that has influenced his hobby and if he's about to have his hobby moment. And I got a little rant that I want to get off my chest as well. So we'll get to that in a little bit. And as always, take a look at our weekly pickups. So we'll get into all of that on today's show. But let's start with your trip to the Expo, pal. How was, what do they call it? The La Carte des Sports Montreal? Is that what it's called?
I think you actually hit the nail on the head. La Carte des Sports Montreal. I think you did a pretty good job there. I'll have to double check the photo, but I mean, overall, it was an amazing weekend. And either way, right off the top, shout out Eric and Murray for a great weekend too, because we said that the goal was to have fun with cards, but no matter what, chilling with the boys in Montreal was always going to be a good time. And we got a bunch of deals done, met a bunch of cool people, saw all kinds of cool cards, and we'll get into that. But overall, it was an amazing weekend.
Chill with the boys. I get no invite. What the hell?
I know. Hey, next year, we're already starting to plan next year. We were debating about Edmonton, Montreal. We aren't sure what we want to do. We actually had a little bit of a conversation with the rep for the Sports Card Expo there. Eric he was picking up a coffee, I think, and he was chatting with them about getting a table in Toronto in November. So, the gears are going to start turning in Toronto and then maybe even Edmonton or Montreal for next year. So I'm definitely hyped to hear about that.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So, how does it differ from Toronto outside of, the fact that you got to speak a little French or you got to try and, figure some things out? There's a slight language barrier, although most people understand and speak English. But so outside of the language, does it differ from the Toronto show at all?
I mean, right off the top, it was a smaller show than the Toronto show. I'd say there was about, I don't know the exact number, but maybe 100 vendors, maybe slightly less. I don't know how many come to the
really?
Toronto show. Yeah, it wasn't as big of a show as you think, but it was enough where you can spend a weekend, and I'd almost say 2 days is sufficient. That third day felt like a little bit of a drag, and the best part came at the end of the show where Eric was actually able to pick up a big lot from someone that he deals with on Instagram a lot. But it just felt like people were ready to go home on Sunday. It was a long weekend. And I mean, 6-hour drive. I actually ate that drive all to myself on Thursday night. It was one of the longest days of my life, but to say the least, it was a great show. And like you said, with the language barrier, I didn't even think that the language barrier was going to be that much of an issue until we arrived at Tim Hortons on Friday. Me, Eric, and Murray created the biggest lineup trying to order a 2-for-7 farmer's wrap. I think we were in line for 15 minutes because there was no one there that could speak English. We were trying to show the app. We were trying to show, look, we have a discount.
Just say like numero set, the number 7, whatever it is.
It was one of the most frustrating moments ever. And then we kept turning around. The line just kept getting longer and longer behind us. There was probably 10 to 15 people waiting in line to get a coffee at 9 o'clock.
Google Translate. There's so many ways around that.
So we absolutely did not think of anything that could have gone in our favor until we left. And I came up with a good idea. I was like, okay, you know what? Tomorrow we're just going to show up. We're going to do a mobile order. And then they're going to call out our name. We're going to throw our hand up and that's it. We're going to eat. But talking about sports cards, I mean, there was a lot of vendors that spoke English. No one that, it was tough to get a deal done because it was in French. And usually there was a translator at the table, especially for some of these high-end guys that had a lot of nice cards. Any cards that are, of substantial value, when you point to it, they're going to find someone to negotiate and translate the conversation for you. I mean, if you're
Right.
pointing to a Connor McDavid Young Guns, you're not just gonna nod your head. You're gonna ask your buddy, okay, what does this guy have to say? So I
Right.
wouldn't say there was too much of a language barrier. So not too much of an issue if anyone's ever worried about traveling to Montreal and you don't know how to speak French.
I am curious like what were the plays like down there? Was there a hot seller this weekend? Like I know, at times when we're doing the Toronto Sport Card Expo, there's like a couple specific players that seem to be, the hot players that people are trying to buy up, and that seems to be the where the market continues to grow day by day. Did you find that there was anyone who was like that over the weekend that there seemed to be a lot of chatter about and you saw a lot of vendors or a lot of dealers, flippers, whatever you want to call them, collectors, kind of scooping them up throughout the weekend? Like, who was the player of the weekend, would you say?
I'd say the player of the weekend, at least the player that I heard his name the most, was probably Nick Suzuki. Obviously, the captain of the Montreal Canadiens, and
Okay.
just having his young guns. I had about 5 of them going into the weekend. I only left with 1 of them, which I was kinda high on price. Like, I wanted $100 for it, and people were offering me 80. Wasn't really too interested in selling it at that price, but man, it was like people would look through my stack of Montreal cards and every single time pull out the Nick Suzuki's, pull out the Nick Suzuki's. Obviously, I didn't have any Slavkovskis because those sold the very first day, but he was another hot name that people were after, man. Like they were willing to pay over comps for a Slavkovsky Young Guns, especially PSA 10s, a card that we know is so tough to grade. A name
Yeah.
that kinda disappointed me, though, I thought he would be a little bit more attractive in a market like Montreal, was gonna be Cole Caulfield, but it didn't seem like too many people were even interested in picking up his card. Like, I ended up selling one for $50, and the guy was almost like, "Look, I don't even wanna pay $50 for it. I'd rather go, pay $80 for a Slavkovsky Young Gun." So that really surprised me.
Yeah, and I'm curious why that is. Like 2 years ago, he was the hot name that everybody wanted. Like that card was, I mean, on release day, $300 card, but even like last year was still going for around $100, and PSA tens were still going for like 250. Not
Yeah.
anymore, man. And I know I've got a couple of Caulfield canvas tens that I unfortunately have been kind of saddled with. I'm waiting for him to go off next year, and hopefully those can raise in price. But yeah, that is somewhat surprising. But I don't know, man. Undersized. He's been injured. I think there's a lot of guys out there in Montreal who are thinking the kid's just not going to be able to stay healthy. Therefore, people don't want to invest in him. I wouldn't be surprised. I think there was a lot of people saying that at the time too. Those who were dumping, saying there's no way that he's going to be able to keep this up. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with him. But that's interesting. Nick Suzuki. I guess that makes sense in Montreal. I thought perhaps there'd be like a player in the playoffs who maybe would have been able to garner some interest, but it was pretty much just like heavy Montreal Canadiens guys, eh?
Oh yeah, 100%. And even though you would think like, okay, let me come in with a game plan where I look at the current NHL playoff status, like you look at players like Panarin, you look at players like Kachuk, like we talked about, I think 2 nights before.
Yeah.
We recorded the podcast on Tuesday. I left on the Thursday night and we were talking about Kachuk. But it's pretty simple. If you're going to the Montreal Expo, the best piece of advice that I would give to anyone that's thinking about going next year, and I think there's even a show coming up in November or October in Montreal. Just save your money, spend it on Suzuki, Caulfield, even Gooley was pretty popular too, but just the big names. I made a big mistake in the last 2 months of collecting, and I don't have the pile on me, but low end dollar Montreal Canadiens, like almost just putting any Montreal Canadian card in one pile, keeping it in my bin and showing people, but it
You
really
want the big
came
boys. You want the big
it
boys.
it was really tough to even just show people my signature line was, "Hey, I got a big lot of just, dollar Montreal Canadian guys. Maybe if there's any guys that you recognize or collected when you were younger, you might be interested. Let me know if you like anything," right? And everyone just kinda, like, flipped through it. "Oh, Nick Suzuki. Okay, how much you want for that?" So I think if I were to plan for next year, I think I would just spend, pick up 5 Suzuki Young Guns at a good price, 5 Caulfield Young Guns at a good price, maybe a Slavkovsky PSA 10. So those are the guys that move.
Yeah,
That's what I found.
I mean, it makes sense too. You know what I mean? Like here in Toronto, it's not like David Camp rookies are flying off the shelves or
Yeah.
like now pick another player out there that, like a Connor Brown, even who's a former
Yep.
Maple Leaf, where it's like, hey, you may have been a fan of him. Like people aren't buying those, right? They want the Matthews and the Nylanders and the Morgan Rileys and the Tavareses and the Marners. Like those are the guys who people want and that people are
Yeah.
collecting. So that kind of does make sense. I think it's not just Montreal where that's the case. It's probably going to be a lot of shows in a lot of big cities, like in Edmonton. I'm sure people aren't as keen on collecting. I don't know, throw out a random name of someone who's kind of been through Edmonton or who's been there for quite some time. I like a
I
name that's
mean,
going through my mind, I guess, like
I
Jordan Eberle, right? Like a
like
Jordan Eberle rookie card. It's like maybe people might be interested, but I'm sure they still would rather have the Zach Hymans, the
yeah.
Nuge, the McDavids, obviously the Draisaitls. Like that's what people want, the big boys. Because again, it's all about hype, and those are the guys who are playing right now, right?
I mean, even funny enough, I saw at the Montreal Expo a Nail Yakupov Young Guns exclusives with a
Perfect.
$75 tag on it. And I was thinking, and for a conversation's sake, like you just mentioned, I wonder if that would be a hot sell in Edmonton, like at the Edmonton Expo. If you had that at your
I don't
booth,
know.
would someone want to say, like, I kind of want this for my collection? I'm a big Oilers fan. I'd love to have it. Or would they say, Get any Yakupov card away from me. I want nothing to do with this guy." So I don't know. I
Well,
feel like the Young Gun exclusive might be a different story though, especially for that cheap. Like you could probably scoop it for $50, right?
I mean, it
Maybe.
depends on the price point, right? Like
Yeah.
I think it would. I don't know if someone. I mean, obviously, not everyone is in the same financial situation, but $75 isn't like, oh, that's kind of funny. Let me buy that for
Yeah.
S and
Fair.
Gs, right? But if you want to get one just kind of for the giggles of it, maybe if you could scoop it up for 20, 25, $30, that's a different story. So I think everything will have its price. 75, maybe not, but yeah, like eventually it probably would sell. I mean, I know I've bought in cards where I just think that it's hilarious or it's a blast in the past name and it's like, oh, it's only a couple of bucks. All right, I'll buy it. Like I remember I bought an Andrea Bargnani rookie auto from like the Hamilton shows like a year ago. But like I
That's
only
pretty
bought it
cool.
because it was Bargnani and it was like $5 or $10. I'm like, it's Bargnani. Like it's just hilarious. I
Yeah, why
grew up
not?
watching the guy. So, but if it was any more than that, I probably wouldn't have even touched it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
everything's got a price point, I guess is the answer to that question. Speaking of the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid, did you notice his card spike at all throughout the weekend?
So I didn't notice a spike, but what I actually did, I made a little play, and I don't know, I sent you the graphic if you want to pull it up of the deal I got done. I had the nice McDavid PSA 8 that I picked up this weekend. So I was actually doing a deal with a vendor, and he was trying to sell some cards to me. We were trying to figure it out, and it was, I don't know if the word is a walk up, but someone ended up walking up to me. We were talking, and he said, "You know what? If you want to take a look at some of the cards that I got for sale." Yeah, there it is. So he had a McDavid PSA 8, and I actually picked up that and a Jack Hughes Young Guns PSA 10 for about $1,000. Ended up selling the Jack Hughes PSA 10 for 240, and then
It's a really good
selling
deal.
on pretty good, and then selling the Connor McDavid Young Guns on the Sunday for $925, which I thought was pretty cheap, considering even though for a PSA 8, the card looked in pretty good condition. I mean, I was thinking about cracking and sending it back, even cracking it and selling it raw because it looked good enough to regrade, which usually you don't see with the PSA 8s. But McDavid was a popular name. I didn't see his stuff flying off the shelves. Like I saw a lot of PSA 10s, but the problem is they're stickered at 4K, but the prices are moving up on eBay. Like we saw it move almost $500 from 3 to 3.5 thousand. But if people are stickered
Call
at
it. Just saying.
$4,000,
Just saying.
hey,
That was
someone
my
called
that
it.
was
Yep.
my pickup. That was my pickup last week. I said, "Hey, I think there's still some room left in McDavid. All he needs to do is score a goal or two, have a 2-point night, score a game winner, and all of a sudden it's going
And
to
he
go
did.
from 3K to 3,500." It's exactly what happened after game one. I think those are probably going back down now that they've lost a couple in a row here, and it's looking less likely that he's going to make a run and go to the Cup final. But after game one, after that one game, if you would have sold buy at
Yep.
3, sell at 35, you would have made a quick 500 just a couple of days. And
Yep.
that's sometimes like that's the quick flip we talk about where you got to identify those guys who have that type of spark and could potentially get there. Jason Robertson, if we want to transition into that conversation, he was kind of that player that we didn't talk about, but certainly fits the mold where wasn't getting a whole lot of hobby love throughout the playoffs. Wasn't playing the greatest to be fair to us. But he's a guy who had hobby love at one point, has kind of faded a little bit, wasn't as stellar this season. Lots of love going towards Wyatt Johnston. Yet a couple nights ago, we watched this guy go off for a hat trick again for the Dallas Stars, and we've now seen his market start to jump quite significantly. It's up. So there was a sale before the game on May 26th for $143, which was a playoff low for him. And then the last sale, $188. So we've seen it climb. What's that? $45. So
Yeah.
$45, which is about a 30% increase from literally game to game. Just after that hat trick, ends up with a 30% increase. Do you think that this is going to continue to escalate here? Is J-Rob finally getting his hobby moment? Are we going to see prices go into the $200 range for a PSA 10, you think?
I mean, I'm still a firm believer, like we talked about in the last podcast, that prices will always increase during the hype. And right now is the hype for J-Rob, Ottinger, Wyatt Johnson, some of these good players, even Heiskanen. I've seen his youngins PSA 10 jump just a little bit in the last month. So I'm going to say that his market's going to settle down a little bit because, like I said last week, and we had this conversation, when it comes time for the finals, it feels like everyone's almost just ready to invest in other players. They're not really looking to make that quick flip. It's almost like, okay, they won, and now what? You know what I mean? So the
So then
hype is really what.
So how long do you have, you think, to make a play on the J-Rob young PSA 10 young guns, or did you miss the boat? Is there
I
still a little bit of juice left in there, you think?
I would say in general right now, and this might sound like a negative aspect of the hobby, but this is how personally I believe it. I would say that you missed the boat now. It's too late. The series is halfway done, I believe. I think, the Rangers are going to advance. Actually, I don't know what the score of that game is. I know that's going on right now, but I think the Rangers are going to advance. The Stars are going to advance. Yeah, double check. And yeah, it's just too late to make a play, I think. So if you were to look at Jason Robertson's market right now and say you're interested from an investment standpoint, maybe down the road it could be a smart idea, but from a quick flip standpoint, I think you missed the boat on this one.
Yeah, like I kind of agree, but I also wouldn't be shocked to see this card jump up in over $200. So I think there's still a little bit of juice left in this thing. I
So
don't think long term, but I think like in the next week or so, could it go from 188 to like a 210, 220, $30 card? I think
so
that's possible.
would you think that if they make the finals, maybe he could break that 200 mark? Because I mean, hey,
I don't even think they need to make the finals. Like, I think legitimately, if he goes out the next game and scores another goal, and now it's back-to-back big games, then I think it will just organically jump another $20 or another $25.
yeah.
Like, I don't think that I'm not talking if he wins the cup. I mean, in the next week, like when we sit down and do this podcast from now, if he scores another 2 or 3 goals, I think it's very much possible that we could see, that price point go back up and, past the $200 range.
Yeah, I had my eye on on the Jason Robertson Future Watch because on the last day of the show there was a walk up that actually offered me. It was a Jason Robertson Future Watch PSA 9, offered it for $210. I offered like 190. I wanted to slightly get under that $200 mark. I passed on
200's a
it.
buy, brother. 200's a buy.
I
I
know,
think
but you know what? I
it's like
did
a
come to
$300 card,
200.
no?
I no, so I'll get into it. I did offer him 200. I said, you know what? That's probably the most I want to do right now, just because you know me, like I just talked about it a minute ago. I'm kind of tentative on these quick plays right now because I know the hype's going to drive the market. And if there's no hype anymore, then I just don't know what's going to back Jason Robertson's cards. But $210 comped around 260 after his hat trick. And I mean, it was comping around 220. That's why I was a little tight on it. Eric actually did end up picking it up. So hopefully he can flip that as quick as possible. But I just wasn't sold on that Robertson because I remember being at the Toronto Expo just 2-3 weeks ago, whatever it was, looking at a raw Jason Robertson Future Watch with a $250 tag on it and thinking that that was cheap. Now to say the PSA 9 at 200 is cheap, it's like, where's his market headed right now? I think that's what's really building our discussion.
What's 209? Last sale I'm seeing for 197 USD. That's what?
It's about
It's about, yeah, like
270
265, 270.
almost.
But yeah, about 270 for a PSA 9 J Rob. So it's in that range. In that range. 280. There's a best offer. So we're looking in that range right now, I guess. PSA 10's going up over $500 at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it's moving up.
yeah.
Actually, funny enough, Eric had the Jason Robertson Future Watch inscribed PSA 10, and he sold it at the Hamilton show 2 weeks ago, the one that you
Oh,
were at, where we were thinking about the John Daly.
yeah.
He sold it for $1,000. And I mean, at the time it made sense, but looking at it right now, it might not have been the best
Raw?
play. But hey, at the time it
Was
made
it raw?
it was a PSA 10 inscribed.
Oh,
I know.
I mean,
I know.
$1,000 is still pretty good. Like,
It is good, like cash too, right? I mean, the issue
yeah.
was there was just a sale, I think 2 days before on the BGS 9.5 for 790. Like there was
Mm,
a brand new comp, BGS 9.5 inscribed for 790, I believe. I wish we could pull up the comp, but the next day or 2 days later, Eric had the PSA 10 in his hand, and he was like, "You know what? $1,000 cash isn't the worst offer in the world considering anything can happen in the playoffs." I mean, he could go down and out of nowhere, this
right.
big card could turn to
Totally.
nothing, so I don't hate the idea, but looking back, maybe it could have been the better idea to hold on to it.
Interesting. Interesting. Now, I want to ask you one other question in regard to the whole Jason Robertson. If you think that there's, some maybe some hype still left in his game, but essentially, like, do you think it's possible for the hobby to support multiple players on the same team, or would Robertson's like boom here likely coincide with a dip of Johnston and Ottinger, or can all three you think kind of continue to soar at this point in the playoffs? Like, what do you think is possible here?
I mean, we've seen a couple instances like this last year. Just to point out the Florida Panthers, I know Brandon Montour might not be the biggest name when it comes to hobby love, but I'm sure you can remember a time where you saw Montour Young Guns in the dollar bin, and then last year they were going for what, at least $10 for a raw, I think, right? At the bare minimum in
Probably,
the
yeah,
playoffs when he was playing that well.
yeah.
Tag that along with how well Kachuk was playing. Bobrovsky's market even caught some steam too. I know it hasn't really picked up that much this year. I mean, I saw Bobrovsky Young Guns with a $20 tag on it, and I thought to myself, is this not a good play? I swear this card's going for 75 plus dollars. Checked on eBay. Unfortunately, they were only going for 15 bucks. And I mean, that was a big surprise to me. But not to only point out the Florida Panthers, look at the Colorado Avalanche. You know, McCarr's market is always booming. It's always been an expensive card for a defenseman. But when we look back at how many, players were on that playoff run when they won the Stanley Cup, McKinnon, whose market boomed, McCarr, whose market boomed, Nichushkin's market never boomed. Rantanen's market never really boomed. It's always felt like, their
Well,
prices are
that's what I
waiting.
mean. Like it always it feels like you only have like one, maybe a second guy can support it. But right now we're seeing Ottinger's market doing really well and Johnson's market doing really well. To add Robertson into the mix here, is it going to come at the expense of one of these other guys? Like that's the crux of the question.
I mean, for me right now, I'll say it will. There can't be more than 3 players that really do well, and like we said, Heiskanen's market's been doing well. Let's not leave him out either. He could be a candidate
Yeah.
for the Conn Smythe. He's been playing well, and it's always felt like his Youngins
Rupe,
PSA 10 is cheap. I
Rupe
Rupe,
Hintz,
a
possibly.
conversation too. Waiting on him, like,
Possibly.
this Dallas team is just unreal. When you look at it up and down the lineup, it's almost like, why
So
haven't we
good.
talked about Tyler Seguin too? And he's probably been one of their best players. No hobby love whatsoever for him. I know his young guns from many years ago.
Yeah.
It's just, how
What
can
about
you
the
sustain
captain,
right? I know, Jamie
Jamie
Benn.
Benn?
How is it possible that it hasn't picked up?
Yeah, it's funny when they made their run to the cup the year that they lost to
San
uh
Jose? or
No, they
Pittsburgh?
lost to Tampa.
Was it Tampa?
Yeah, it was in the bubble. The bubble
Oh,
year.
yeah, yeah,
They
yeah.
lost to
Yeah,
Tampa Bay,
yeah.
and I remember buying Jamie Benn, like, I got caught up on the hype train. That was, like, when I kinda first, got back into collecting heavily and whatever, made those mistakes everyone else made in 2020. So I remember buying, a Jamie Benn Young Guns, but even at the point, it was like $30 at the time, maybe $25 for a Jamie. I'm like, this guy's a captain. He could potentially win the Stanley Cup. Like, he's a former Hart winner. Like, I mean, either way, $25 seems like a good price. And then like a year later, it was a $10 Young Guns. Like it's just so
Holy.
wild how cheap some of those older Young Guns are. But like the guy's I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer, but he's a really, really good player, had a great career. But again, if you watch his market right now, kind of a similar thing happening. Like it's creeping up from like 10, 15, 20. If they make it to a cup final, maybe you'll see that go for 25, $30 again. Would not be surprised. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. It is getting dicey though. To kind of go back to the point you were making, I think about Jason Robertson, it's getting a little dicey for that quick flip strategy with so few games left to
I
capitalize
agree.
on, right?
Yeah. No,
So
100%. Like, there's only, I think, what, 2.5 weeks left of playoff hockey, and we know how slow the market can react if you are selling things personally. If we're gonna look at something on eBay and say you already have it in hand and you already have it posted up, look, I mean, I what was the score of the game of the Rangers? Did you end up checking? I
yeah, it was 2-2, but I think it's 3-2 now because I have a buddy who's a big time Laffy lover, texted me Laffy baby, and I'm assuming that meant because the Rangers scored, and I'm guessing it was Laffy who scored the
I mean,
goal.
a perfect example right there is Lafreniere, and if Lafreniere were to have a great game tonight, score a hat trick, and you suddenly buy something off Instagram.
He had the tying goal, so it's 2-2 in the
Okay,
third as we speak.
nice. But to even further help argue my point, if you buy a Lafreniere Young Guns or PSA 10, Future Watch, or whatever it might be off Instagram, it's going to take a week to come in. It's going to take you at least a day to post it. Everyone's a little bit busy here and there. Excuse me. Get it
Yeah,
posted, get some offers in, get some traction on eBay, maybe post it to the Instagram. It's almost 2 weeks until your card is really out there and published on eBay. People see it. It takes a while. That's why I think there's not enough time to go purchase something right now online and then repost it. However, if you have a card in your hand and you're going to say, what is this? A Shane Pinto Black Diamond, and he scores a hat trick tonight, and you quickly post it up on eBay. Okay, that could be a quick flip play. But if you're
right.
looking to buy off someone on Instagram or eBay, I just think the time's come and gone.
Yeah, unless you can, do an in-person deal, like if someone lives in your
Or in
city and you
person.
could quickly
Yep.
make that trade, or if you are at a card show like this past weekend, right? There was time you're making that
Yep.
in-person transaction, you're getting that card right away. But if you're trying to pick stuff up on eBay or you're doing mail days, making trades or buying stuff online, then yeah, it seems like it's getting a little dicey to try and do that quick flip strategy because what we've kind of figured out is that the hype dies in the cup final. You would think it wouldn't. You'd think that, someone wins a cup final and that price would keep going and then explode at that point. It's not what happens, weirdly. People, because again, it's the hype. Then it's like, all right, well, what's next? You know what I mean? So, yeah, it seems like the quick flip strategy. Time is running out, and unless you can make those in person deals in the next week or so, it seems like that's not going to be the case when it comes to the flippers market anymore. So that's kind of the X's and O's of that conversation. I wanted to get into a discussion here, Anthony. I kind of want to rant for a second
I
because I was at a card store the other day
I
and
really
it
I've been
really
waiting for this forever. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I really wanted to intro this because I've been waiting on this for 4 days. I got a text from Mike on Saturday, and he was like, "Dude, I need you to remind me to talk about this on the pod." And there was no explanation to it. I think I just said okay because I was just as busy. But I've been waiting for this for 4 days. Dude, I'm super hyped to hear what was going on at this brick and mortar shop that you said you need to talk about this?
Dude, so I'm not gonna put this place on blast, obviously. There's no need to do that. And like I think it's a fine establishment and business. But it's well, to be fair, it's also the first time that I've ever been there, so I don't really know. But anyways, it really annoys me when I walk into a brick and mortar and they just have like empty shelves, empty showcases, and no value boxes. There's no like binders to look through. And they really just like prioritize all their online sales over their in-store sales. I don't know if that annoys you, but nothing annoys me more than when I walk into a hobby store and there's nothing for me to look at, do, or buy for that matter. And you mention, oh, can I take a look at, like are there any cards in the back or something? Any boxes? Yeah, but they're all online. You can go check them out online. It's like, no, I'm in your store. Like, I want to just look at it. Look, okay, is it gradable? Or look at it. Okay, can you find a good deal? Is something in the storage bin that's been there for maybe a couple of months that has gone up in value that I can now get it for a good price? Like, that's kind of the point of value boxing, trying to find those good values. And I think it's really a misservice that these stores do by not allowing you to do these things, by not giving the people who come to the store in person, like it's going to keep me from coming back to your store, basically. Like the brick and mortars that I love to go to are the ones that are consistently changing up their stock, consistently getting in new cards, selling, buying, selling, bringing in new stock for me to look at. If I go in once every week or once every 2 weeks, and I've got a bunch of new stuff that I can look at and buy and maybe find some good value. And ultimately, what I think that also does is it gets me into the store, and I'm also more likely every, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 trips to the hobby shop, more likely to buy wax too. Like, and that's kind of what they want to do is they want to sell wax. That's really where they need to sell. That's kind of where they got to get their margins from. And unfortunately, when these stores just aren't giving me the option to go in and look through singles and have some fun doing it, I'm not even going to go there, which is I'm not even going to buy wax. And I'm just not going to go to your store and give you any of my business either. I'm not going to go to your eBay shop. I'm sorry. I want to come and buy it in person. That's just how I operate. I don't know if you're the same way, if you're old school like that. But yeah, it just really, chapped my ass when I walked in and it was like, literally half empty cases, no value boxes. I was like, is there anything that I can like kind of buy? And it's like, yeah, it's just like this random stuff that's stickered. And oh yeah, everything was stickered like twice the amount that it's worth. So it really, really just grinded my gears. And I don't know if anyone else feels the same way, but I do. I don't know if that's just the old school in me that likes to walk into a hobby shop, to look through things, spend an hour looking through boxes, just kind of rummaging. That's what I like to do. And when you don't give me that opportunity, it really, really upsets me. That's the point of a brick and mortar. Like if just running an online business, if you're not going to allow people to come in and shop, it doesn't make
I
sense.
I mean, I totally agree with you. Even from a hobby standpoint and just looking at so many stores, like there's been so many times where either I drop off my brother or my mom at a doctor's appointment, or I'm just driving around and I'm like, you know what? Let me walk into Golf Town or Walmart or Hockey Life or some store just to go and see stuff. I don't want to order things online. And you know what? Sometimes they will get my business just from having inventory. And I can almost say the same for card stores too. Like you're saying, half the battle is having your cards in person and online. But when you just do it online, it's a big missed opportunity to, meet your customers, show your customers new cards, and almost, feel like the hobby store, or sorry, the hobby shop is a place where a customer can come, hang out, talk sports, and, talk Pokemon too, trading card games. There's all different types of opportunity that can present itself when you're talking about, an in-person store. When it's online, it's as easy as, going on my phone and ordering whatever card I need, but there's almost little to no fun in that. It's just like, I don't want to go online and order a brand new hockey stick. No, I want to go inside. I want to try it. I want to talk to the guy about the hockey stick.
Flex.
Yeah, I gotta
Yeah.
flex it to see how many goals I could score with it. How many goals I feel in this stick. So I'll agree with that argument because I do it almost way too many times. Walking into random stores, Dollarama, I am the absolute worst at that. Just walking in there and spending like
Oh, that's a
$18
$20
on
bill.
just
Yeah. Every time you walk
literally just
in.
it's like I don't need anything in that store, but it's like they have everything. Like a mug for $1.75. Like, yeah, I want a mug with like a little dog on it for my mom. Sure, here, take my money. It's like you gotta have inventory to make sales. So I definitely agree with you from that standpoint.
Yeah, it really bothered me. Like, just walked in and I'm like, eh, I started said to the guy, I'm like, not much here, eh? And he's just like, yeah, most of our stuff's all online.
And
Why?
I
So
mean,
what's the
yeah,
point of what you do here? What would you
yeah,
say
yeah.
you do here? Like,
Yeah, I
ugh,
agree with you. I could see where people also say that, it's easier to do it online. It costs less. You don't have to have as many employees. But from a hobby standpoint, I want to be able to go into a card shop and look at sports cards, hockey, baseball, football, Pokemon, whatever it might be, right? I want to have a conversation. I don't want to go online. That's where you really lose the lack of, passion in the hobby.
yep, completely agree. Completely agree. I just wanna, sift through myself, but
Mhm.
is what it is. Unfortunately, I think we're going closer to the online sales than we are going reverting back to the old school brick and mortars. There's only a few spots like that around, and unfortunately, this place was not one of them. But is what it is. I guess I'll have to suck on it and just like not go to that store. I suppose they're
Yeah.
just not going to get my business at the end of the day. Really quickly, some hobby news. Upper Deck Synergy coming out next week. I couldn't find the checklist. Checklist still didn't come out, which is bizarre considering it's literally out next week. But
Yeah.
another chance to load up on all them bedsies. The Connor Bedards. I'm sure there'll be plenty of Bedards stocked in there. And Upper Deck also announced that they've pushed back the extended release. So it's no longer going to come out on the
Really?
12th. It's been extended a week. So yeah, extended coming out on June 19th. And again, still no um, Young Guns checklist yet for that. We do know that Cooley will be part of it. We know that Fantilli will be part of it. And we'll figure out who else is going to be there. Bedard's controversial UD canvas will be in there. I think it's a great card. Some Anthony don't agree as much. But yeah, seeing pre-orders in the 239 range still. So still more than you would like to pay for a flagship starter product, intro product, but still less than what it was for Series 2. This is kind of in the middle, I guess, of Series 1 and Series 2. If that makes you happy, I suppose. They're meeting you in the middle, I guess. I don't know. It
I
still
mean,
feels like a little bit too much for me to pay for extended series. I don't know. I think it's a little
yeah.
high still.
Yeah, that's definitely high. 239 as a starting price too is definitely high. I know there is some good youngins in there. I mean, like you said, Logan Cooley, Adam Fantilli are both confirmed. That Connor Bedard Youngins canvas, which maybe that is what's driving the price for this box. But
But
I
even
just
well, think
can't.
about it. If you get a Cooley or a Fantilli Young Guns, and when we get the full checklist, we can go through it and we can have this actual debate of what we think the price point should be. But
Mhm.
like neither of those cards to me are gonna sell for 200 raw. I don't even know
I
if
mean,
they'll hit 100. Like
I
that
mean, I
100 might be like the ceiling on those guys, in my opinion.
yeah, I mean, if I were to tell you my predictions, I think you'd be pretty surprised. Like, I'd probably have Logan Cooley coming in around $10 and Fantilli maybe
No,
around.
get out of here.
So then why is Leo Carlson like what, 10, $20, right?
Now, but he was like 80 on
Now
release. I'm
oh,
talking about on
no.
release. I'm
Oh,
talking
I thought we were
release.
talking about down the road. Okay. Well, either
No,
way,
no,
my
no. We're talking
prediction
release.
is call it in December. Let's say it's Christmas, you're sitting on Christmas morning and you rip a box of extended. You're probably looking at Fantilli being a $25 card and
Oh,
maybe
more
Logan
than that.
Cooley being a $10 card. I don't know. You could keep the receipt on
More
this
than
too.
that.
We could clip it. We
More
could
than that.
post it. We'll see.
I
But
mean,
on
I
Christmas
think
Day,
they'll be higher. I think they'll be higher than that, but
what would be
yeah.
what would be your prediction? What do you think?
Well, Christmas is a very arbitrary date, but like I wouldn't be shocked to see Fantilli in like the 40-ish range and Cooley 25-ish range. Probably sounds more where it should be, I think.
What I mean, where it should be and where it will be is
Like
always
where
a
it settles
discussion in the
into. Like I think
hobby.
that's like where we settle into.
Yeah. Oh, you
If
think so when they're, like, settled? Because right now I'd say, like, Leo Carlsson settled, Shane Wright settled, like, these are all prices that have settled for now, at least.
Yeah, Carlson's low. Like he's a buy
He's
for me.
low.
You could pick him up for
He's
like
low.
15, $20. I'd be buying Carlson. I'm
He's
going to be
low.
buying Carlson this summer. Yeah.
And just like that, you just made up your mind for the rest of the summer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah. If you got
like,
Leo Carlson,
literally
you wanna sell them at market price, I'll pay full comp. I'll pay full comp market
so
price
so the
for
day
Leo
is
Carlson right now.
Tuesday, May 28th, 10:46 PM, 2024, and Mike has just decided that he is now PCing Leo Carlson just on an investment standpoint for now. But we'll see what he could get. Maybe we'll take a look at him picking up some exclusives, maybe a high gloss. I don't know if as of right now we're buying low and I like it too. Maybe I'll
What
scoop
just
him.
what just came out? Uh, what series just came out that
Series 2.
Bedard had, like, the Team Canada stuff in it?
Oh.
What's the
Oh,
last Upper Deck product that just came out? Oh, why am I
we were
blanking?
talking
We
about
talked about it a couple weeks ago.
Black
Yeah.
Diamond?
No, it
Was it
was
Black
after Black
Diamond with the
Diamond.
Canada auto?
After Black Diamond, because Black Diamond's all sticker. It's kinda nonsense, in
Oh,
my
that already
opinion.
did come out. Was
Yeah.
it,
But anyways, do you realize that they didn't have any Leo Carlson in that product?
I think we talked about that, did we not?
Oh, maybe we did.
I think so,
Crazy.
yeah.
Just I guess, an oversight on Upper Deck to not have Leo Carlson, one of the top rookie chases in one of their top products. Not top
Yeah,
product, but
it just feels like Upper Deck's been holding off so many of these good rookies just to be able to sell off some of these boxes, and we saw today, actually, on Tuesday, that Will Smith just signed his contract with the San Jose Sharks, so I'll keep an eye on some of the players from that market, but it almost begs the question, how long will it take Upper Deck to release his first Young Guns?
Series 2. He'll be a Series 2
You
chase.
think? It
Well,
feels like
he can't be Series 1 because he hasn't played a game yet in the NHL, so he can't be Series 1. So he's gotta be Series 2 if not extended.
well, we
So,
had
like,
that discussion
I could see so, like, Macklin Celebrini will be the chase for Series 2. Like, do
yeah.
they put Celebrini and Smith in the same box, or do they maybe push Smith and make him, like, the face of extended? I don't know.
I mean,
Um,
there's a lot of good names right now, like Ryan Leonard, Washington Capitals, that should be coming out sometime next year because I know there's
he played a
discussion.
game though, right? Didn't he play a game for Washington?
No,
Oh,
no,
maybe
not
not.
yet.
Yeah.
I believe they were trying to get him pulled up for the playoffs, but with Will Smith leaving, I think it could ignite, you know? Maybe
Oh,
Ryan Leonard
Celebrini's
playing a
gone.
game.
They're gone. They're gone. So, I think
All
all 3
the
of those
whole
guys are
crew's
gonna be
gone.
leaving BU. Yeah, I think they're all
Yeah.
gonna leave BU. Um, but yeah, I think those 3 though will be 3 of the better chases for the 23-24 Young Guns class, whether it's Series 1, Series 2 extended, like
Yeah.
those 3 players will be highly sought after for sure, I think, in the hobby, but it's a ways down the line, for
Yeah.
us, but I mean, San Jose is a big play for you regardless. So, speaking of, why don't we get into a little show and tell pickups from the week? Because you did pick up quite a bit of San Jose, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I picked up a bunch of San Jose, and I might need you. I could probably send you the photo because I showed some of the pickups that I pulled up from Montreal aren't any of the Bordlow, but I went absolutely ham on Thomas Bordlow this weekend, and I could send you the photo if you want to pull it up, and then I could show my other pickups. I
Yeah,
just
send
think
it to
that
my email.
yeah, for sure. I think Bordlow's market is just so insanely cheap right now,
I
considering the
agree.
opportunity he has. And, like we said today, Will Smith signs his deal. He's going to be playing next year. Eklund's on that team. There's some good, you know, depth that's coming in. Obviously, they still have What's the other guy's name? Ryan Musty, isn't he? I believe
Is
Wasn't Ryan Musty drafted by San Jose
Quentin?
too?
Quentin Musty.
Or is it
No,
Quentin Musty?
I thought he was a Colorado draft pick
Let me
from
check.
Sudbury
Uh,
Wolves prospect.
Let me check.
Could be wrong, but I mean, they've got some
No,
young talent.
yeah, no. So in the 2023 NHL draft, he was drafted 26 overall by the San Jose Sharks.
Okay, so it was a San Jose player.
Yep.
Maybe it was with Colorado's pick. I don't know. It was like right before Toronto picked. And they took Easton Cowan, who's a stud.
I mean,
Easton Cowan might be able to headline a class. If he can do what he's doing, make the team next year for Toronto, he could headline a Series 2 or an extended chase just because he's a Maple Leaf also.
He's been unreal. So I just emailed you the photo of all the Bordlows I picked up.
Okay.
Check that out. Pull her up. And I just feel like I might have been a little bit aggressive on his market, but there was just so many people talking about him. Even someone told me that his family's from Montreal, which I didn't even know that, or that he was from Montreal. So he was a popular name. And I was pleasantly surprised to see a lot of, I don't want to say big cards, but for his price point, I mean, Future Watch Auto Patch, 1 of 1 from Stature, Orange Checkers from O-Pee-Chee. It's like I even was able to pick up the Speckled Rainbow, the exclusives, the clear cut. Like there wasn't much else left for me there that I could have picked up.
Yeah. I haven't gotten the email yet. If that's what
yeah.
Wait, no, it hasn't come through.
No, it's all good. I'll try and see if it comes in.
But anyways, yeah, like I think that's like a smart off-season pickup. I think he's one of those guys that it's very likely he's going to end up playing with, in the top 6 and have a good chance at least to play some top 6 minutes eventually. Like he's a former first-round pick. They clearly thought highly of him. So I think he's one of those young guys who you can find even his young guns. Like you can find him for $1 or $2. Like he's a cheap young gun. You could find him everywhere and then go see if he can find his other big, rookie cards, such as the Future Watch or the Future Watch Auto Patch or, whatever else you could possibly get your hands on. Because, if he does end up playing really well for the San Jose Sharks and he plays alongside Celebrini, yeah, there's totally a chance that he could end up doing some really good things here for San Jose. All right, so I got it. I got it pulled up here.
Beauty.
Boom. You got a 101. Look at that. 101
there we go. Okay.
Rookie.
Sweet.
Thomas Bordelot. Future Watch Auto Patch.
So we could walk through it and pretty much, I felt like I picked up all the cards that I wanted to in Montreal for Bordelot that were available. I saw the 1 of 1, ended up picking it up for around $80. The Future Watch Auto Patch, I ended up picking up for around $90. It was a little bit of a trade in cash. I used to have a Shane Wright Future Watch Patch Auto, traded down, got majority cash, and then that Bordelot in trade. The Young Guns exclusive.
Really sweet patch.
Yeah, the patch was what really did it for me. I actually ended up picking another one up today because someone had it on Instagram. They swiped up to my story and they were like, oh, you know what? There might be another guy that has this card. I have the photo, actually. Let me just show you. There it is. So I ended up picking up this today off Instagram.
Very nice. Still going heavy. Even after you said, oh, I might have went too heavy on the weekend.
You're
still going heavy.
I mean, I almost have to. I almost have to. Like, for that price, I think I ended up paying online. It was $85 shipped for that Future Watch Patch Auto. It's like, you're just forcing my hand at this point. Obviously, pardon?
So for the Future Watch, does he not have? Oh, there's like the non-auto version.
That's the Future Watch acetate.
Oh, the acetate. Okay, nice. Very, very nice. And then there's another one.
Yeah, I got lots of stuff for Bordelot. Definitely not lacking anything of him. If he ever ends up playing some big minutes for San Jose, and I'm hoping for maybe a 50-point season for him next year, just to kickstart that organization and maybe find himself in a bigger role. and then maybe I can make some profit down the road. But for right now, I'll hold Boardlow for as long as possible. I know we want to get into our pickups though, so I will show some of the coolest pickups from this weekend, unrelated to investments, unrelated to anything Boardlow. And then I know you want to get into the St. Catharines card show because you were set up there on Sunday, and I haven't heard how that went for you. But without further ado, we'll
Yeah.
start us off. So I picked up this Connor McDavid Metal Universe out of 100.
What a pickup. So I don't know what he picked up realistically. Outside of the couple of stories that Anthony
Yeah,
shared on IG, I don't really know what his pickup haul was. So you're getting my raw, honest reaction. And man, that is a sick pickup.
I know.
Sick
So I
pickup.
picked.
McDavid PMG, my guy. What a
So
pickup.
I know, and you know what? These might not be the most expensive pickups, but every pickup has a reason. So the reason that I picked this one up for was because I just love the jersey. Out of 100, got it in the one touch, and I actually picked it up for around $80. So I thought that was an absolutely ridiculous price for a McDavid PMG, considering he's still in the conference final, still playing well, and maybe it might be a little bit of a hold. Looked pretty good condition wise, which we don't always see, but for $80, I felt like that was a pretty good pickup. So
I think so.
next up, we got his teammate Dylan Holloway, picked up his Young Guns exclusives.
Very nice.
Picked that up for
Very
around $65, I believe. Didn't even check a comp. Still don't even know what the comp is. I'm sure it goes for a little bit more. I'll probably end up posting on eBay sometime after work when I get some time this week. But I feel like that was a pretty solid pickup considering how well he's been playing the past couple games.
Yeah, just got to see if he can get you a goal. Get a
Yeah.
goal, throw it up.
Yep, exactly. That's all I need. Next up, a little bit of a hold for now. I'll probably post it up on eBay for a high ask and see if there's any bites. But Jamie Drysdale Future Watch auto patch. Not
Wow.
absolutely in love with the patch. I believe it's a two color, black and white. Beautiful auto. Pretty good condition actually too for a patch card. But I feel like Drysdale's price is a little bit cheap, and I ended up picking this up for around $85. So I found that to be a pretty cheap price considering his hype that he got when he was traded to Philly just last season.
Well, and Philly's a good market. Like Philly, there's a lot of Philadelphia Flyers fans out there just because they, people grew up fans of the Broad Street Bullies, like those who grew up through the 70s, 80s. So I think that just there was a lot of Flyers fans around and that go to card shows. And, that's something to also keep in mind too, is fan base makes a difference in terms of card values. So to me, the trade from Anaheim to Philly, in my opinion, increases his value just because I think the
Yeah.
market gets bigger, right? Like the market cap increases. Some people will say, he's, it's in a Ducks uniform as opposed to a Flyers uniform. That's fair. But ultimately you now have a wider audience of potential Drysdale fans in Philly than you would in Anaheim.
Yeah, I'm definitely happy with this pickup. Getting it for under $100 is something I'd love to keep doing all summer. I mean, if I can pick it up, maybe grade this one. It looks pretty good. I'll see. Not something I'd usually grade, but if it looks super good when I really take a look at it, maybe I will. But I'll definitely keep buying Drysdale. The next pickup, and I have 3 more. So this is the third, was this Patrick Kane. And I know these were Easter eggs just a couple years ago, 2021-22 Upper Deck Series 1. These are that game used jerseys. And I picked this up for $5. Haven't looked at a comp, but I'm pretty confident that this would go for more than $25.
So
Pretty,
that was a Easter egg
yeah, right?
out of Series 1.
Am I wrong? Because from what I remember, I had the
Well, they do have
Ovechkin.
they do have jersey cards as part of the like regular checklist. I don't know if that's a specific like short printed or specific Easter egg. Like he wasn't maybe on the checklist, so that's all. I don't know.
I
I would have
believe
to
so
take a look at
because
the checklist and find out.
I might be wrong. I could be right. I took a risk on it.
Either
Still
way,
haven't looked it up.
A Patrick Kane patch, game used. It's game used on the back.
Yeah, game use. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's well worth $5.
Because I
In
know
my opinion.
that I did Yeah, I had the Alexander Ovechkin that I pulled, and I think that one went for almost $80 when I sold it. It was like a year and a half ago. So I saw this, and I remembered
Okay.
that the OV one was rare. Pulled the trigger, didn't look up a comp. Still haven't ended up looking up a comp. I've been so busy, but I feel like I'm pretty confident that I'll do well on that.
You'll win
Anyways,
on it regardless. You got it for a price point where regardless, someone will pay you
yeah,
at
even
least
I mean,
double what you paid for it.
yeah, I mean, you know
Minimum.
me too. I'm a Patrick Kane fan. I don't even mind just throwing it in a one touch and putting it in my Patrick
Yeah.
Kane box because
Collection.
it's not like I already have way too many Patrick Kane patches. Anyways, a player that on Detroit where Patrick Kane did play was Marco Casper Deluxe. Ended up picking this up for around
Ooh,
$20. A little bit of an
nice.
aggressive price. Didn't love it, but I feel like some of his numbered stuff will do well in the future when he starts playing. First round draft pick. We were having a conversation, me and Eric, about his market not being able to pick up. Like he's only a dollar young gun too. So if you ever see his stuff in the dollar bins, I feel like it's a really good play to pick him up.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. If you could find them, you finding them
If
in $1, $2 bins.
If if you
Yeah.
could find
If
them. I
yeah.
I I have I mean, I found one all weekend. I found this, and then I found another one in a dollar bin, not a deluxe, a regular.
Yeah. Nice.
So,
Yeah.
and
If you're
then
finding
last
gas bars for a buck or two, I think those are solid pickups.
100%. So then my last pickup, probably one of my favorite pickups of the weekend, not the most expensive, maybe not the coolest, but I just feel like bank for buck and what I'll be able to sell this card for and maybe even hold on to it. Looking at the PWHL and one of the most popular players out of that market. So I picked up
Ooh,
this
let me
Sarah
guess.
Nurse.
That's who I was gonna guess. Literally, I was
Yeah.
gonna say Sarah Nurse.
Sarah Nurse game use 3-color patch for Team Canada out of 199. I picked this up for I believe it was $5 out of a bin.
No
Didn't e
way.
I
That
know.
is
So that
stupidly underpriced. So this there's a conversation for us to have this summer about the PWHL, and I think as a card market, I think it's very underpriced, undervalued, and you just proved my point. The fact that you can get a
yeah.
Sarah Nurse RPA, like sick RPA too. Like, look at that
I
three
mean, look at the
color with
patch
the
too.
whole
Even, like, there's, like, the
the
dots, right?
dots. Yeah, like the breathe. Like that's just so sick. There's no
Game
reason why I
use.
should ever be fight. I mean, this is an Olympian. She's one of the faces of the PWHL. Like, I think that there's totally some money to be made in investing and flipping in the PWHL in the coming year plus, probably until it gets to that point. But
Yeah.
that's a conversation that we can have in the summer when there's no hockey about
Yeah.
possible long term plays you might be making. I've been keeping an eye on on the women's hockey cards. We'll say that.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I'll keep an eye and see, but yeah, I'm sure you understand, not the most expensive, maybe not the most, how can I word this? Nor like I don't usually pick up PWHL cards just because I don't see them as much as I see, Upper Deck or NHL
Right.
cards. But I saw that and I was like, what? I've never owned a Sarah Nurse card. Might as well pick it up because it is nice and the price seemed normal, seemed super fair. Still yet to look up a comp on what that does, but probably end up posting on eBay, make a little bit of money or hold on to it, maybe to see what she does next season. I know they had a tough ending to their season, but those are my pickups from the Montreal Expo that I thought were the best to explain. Obviously, some notable pickups, like I was able to pick up a McKinnon Young Guns, Drysdale Future Watch, two Gensel Future Watches I picked up, all kinds of other stuff, but those are definitely some of my favorites.
Nice. Nice little lot there. Some good pickups by you this weekend in Montreal. As you mentioned, I did set up at the St. Catharines Card Show at the Holiday Inn, the M&L Card Show, where I didn't like when I'm set up at shows. I don't really have much time to like walk around and buy. But what is nice about setting up is you have people coming to you to sell, and they say, "Hey,
Yeah.
you interested? Are you buying?" And yep, I'll take a look, and that's how I kind of ended up with all of these cards I'm about to show you. Just kind of they were all table walk ups, and they were just looking to kind of move on their stuff. One was a trade. Actually, a couple of them. Actually, most of them were trades. Now that I think about it, with cash and trades, I think only one of them was a straight purchase. The rest were all cash and trades. Now that I think about it. But anyways, we'll start things off here with this one. So this one was a cash and trade. My boy Thatcher Demko, Hot Prospects, Fleer Showcase rookie auto, number to 499. This, I don't know if, did I show you my Evan Bouchard purple diamond at 10?
No.
So I had an
Damn, for 10.
Allure purple. Yeah, it's not rookie. I think it's like second or third year, or third, maybe even fourth year. Anyway, an Allure purple diamond number to 10 of Evan Bouchard that I somehow found in a value box for, I think, $1, to be completely honest with you, like last year. And he's going off right now, absolutely going off. So I ended up getting this Thatcher Demko rookie plus $25 cash
What?
for that
Plus?
number to 10. Yeah,
What?
yeah. Well, he was an Oilers guy. I had a $75 tag on it, which I mean, Evan Bouchard right now.
Yeah, fair enough.
Never been hotter. You get a number to
Yeah.
10. It's purple die cut. Like, it's a really cool looking card. It's got,
Yeah.
like shine to. It was a really sick card. Anyways, but that was that deal. This was just this was the lone pickup that I made walking around. The guy next to me had Logan Thompson authentic rookies auto. So I picked that up. Your boy, former Brock University alum.
Yep.
Actually, this was the bigger pickup. Yeah. So I got these. This is like a cash and trade. So I got a John Tavares limited autos SPA on card. SPA
$30
auto.
tag. That seems pretty cheap.
I mean, these limited autos don't sell for as much as you'd think, man. Like, they really don't. No, they're not numbered. I mean, like, they're not numbered, but they're also not common. You know what I mean? Like, they're still kind of, and they're on card too, and they look nice. They're sick. They're clean. But yeah, like a John Tavares on card auto in a Maple Leaf uniform for $30, like that's a steal in my opinion. But that's kind of the value of it. So if anyone wants it, let me know. It's available. Same thing, on card auto for UD Ultimate of Braden Point. On card auto again.
So cheap.
Not numbered. Yeah, super cheap. I got a $20 sticker on it, dude. Braden Point on card auto from Ultimate for $20. I'm about to show you something that's even more stupidly cheap, and that is Andrei Vasilevsky, UD Ultimate Icon jersey.
So cheap.
On card auto, numbered to 135 for $50.
That's insane. That's insane.
Like, and like that's what I'm asking for. It is $50.
Yeah. And I remember because I bought a collection, I guess it feels like 2 years ago now. I think 2 years ago. And I had that card. I don't know what it was numbered out of. And I ended up selling it, I think, for 85 shipped. And I was thinking to myself, that's so cheap for a card this nice. And looking at it now, it's like you could pick it up for $50 and it still feels even cheaper. Back then, $85, and I was almost just wanting to hold on to it.
On card jersey auto number to 135 of Andrei Vasilevsky, close to jersey number. It's number 80, so close to jersey number. But yeah, so that was one. This was the biggest pickup of that lot deal, though. It is a Patrick Waugh Remnants from Ingrained. It is game use stick, and it's number 200. Yeah,
that's
number
really
200.
Nice.
You can see, really Patrick Waugh game use stick, number 100. Really, really nice. So yeah, so that was like an entire lot. There's like cash and trade involved, so that was a good pickup. I enjoyed picking up that lot. I think I'll do well. This was a straight buy off somebody who walked up. I got Fleer metal green PMG Ricard Raquel. If anyone ever sees a green PMG, pick it up if it's cheap, obviously, for the price. But like, if you are picking these up at a very cheap price, the ones that are green are numbered to 10. Although on the back it says it's out of 100,
It's
it
not.
says it's out of 100. The greens are only out of 10. So anything numbered 11 to 100 are going to be red. But anything numbered from 10 and lower is going to be green, but they all say out of 100. So that's kind of an inside baseball, inside hockey kind of thing where it's just, knowledge that I've built up over the years where I know that, yes, this says it's out of 100, but it's actually only out of 10. And it's not I shouldn't price it as a regular PMG, red PMG. It's different. There's what's the word? An escalator to it. It X's whatever
There's
amount.
a I
Yeah,
don't know, for
I
lack
can't
of a
remember
better
the
term,
proper term.
there's definitely a it it adds value for
Yes,
sure, for
yeah,
lack of a better term.
yes, exactly. So yeah, so there's that, and then this.
That's a beauty.
Yeah, Alex
So
Ovechkin,
simple.
game used memorabilia, game used jersey, not numbered, from Upper Deck Profiles, which was kind of an underprinted set from McDavid's rookie year. It was like the only year they ever did
Yeah,
it.
that was, yeah.
I have the McDavid rookie one, and now I got this one. So 15-16 Upper Deck Portfolio, and it's game used, not game worn or event worn, game used jersey from the Great Eight. So that was a good kind of lot buy with these two. And then this was a fun pickup. At Austin Matthews Raw Young Guns that I was able to pick up. It was a cash and trade. There was a coin flip involved. I think I gave up my PSA 10 Alexi Lafreniere. I gave up a PSA 10 Tim Stutzla and then cash on top.
That's pretty
And then
good.
we coin flipped on the cash amount. I won, so I saved $20
Let's go.
and got the Austin Matthews Raw Young Guns, which I said last week I'm a buyer
Yep,
for Austin Matthews at the price that he's at now, and I preach what I sell. You know what I mean? Like I'm not just saying stuff just to say stuff. I am
yep.
legitimately walking the walk on that one. So those are my pickups. There was also like this other lot of like a bunch of young guns. Somebody came in and offered up to me, and I just couldn't say no. One was a
Yep.
Leo Carlson
Leo.
that I
There
got.
he
But I
there he
think
is.
I mean $15. Like I'll sure, yeah, okay, I'll take that. There was some everyone good. There's a Max Domi, Teravainen, William Carlson, Jaden Schwartz. Remember this was the 12-13 year that we were talking about last weekend. That's underprinted. Little
Yeah.
Jaden Schwartz, Young
Actually,
Guns.
funny enough, for that conversation, I got a text from a buddy that I used to work with. Let me show you. He collected cards when he was a little bit younger, sent me a photo of some cards that he had.
Oh, nice. Just a
Obviously,
few Matthews.
some casual Matthews just chilling. But then when we get to the end, obviously some good cards.
Barkov,
I see that
Kreider.
sneaky raw
Oh,
Chris Kreider. And
oh,
you know what? He wants to grade all of the Matthews, so I told him I'd give him a hand with that. But I think it might be a good opportunity to grade that Kreider because, like we talked about last week, the percentages are just ridiculous on that Kreider.
low
Like what? The
pop,
PSA 10 was
super low pop.
350, 400 or something? Ridiculous.
$3.99. Crazy.
Crazy.
Now I
Crazy.
don't know why it's $3.99. Like Pop Report's the only explanation for that price, but there were multiple sales. It was insane. Absolutely
Yeah,
wild, wild, wild. I also did sell the
definitely.
Tim Hortons master set. Remember last week talked about that big
Yeah, yeah,
trade that
yeah.
I made? I
Oh,
did
yeah,
end
you
up
did?
selling. I did sell the master set at the show. Kind of a funny story. I was getting ready to walk away, pick up my stuff. I already had it all in my cart, my little wagon that I carry all my cards in now. And I was getting ready to go, and I was just passing by this older gentleman who was set up, and I noticed he had a box with a couple of other uh, Tim Hortons um,
Cards?
binders. No, like the binders.
Oh,
So I
okay.
just like jokingly was like, "Hey, you wouldn't be interested in a master set of Tim Hortons, would you?" He turns around, I was like, "Actually, I might. What did you want on it?" And I was like, "Oh, this." He's like, "Huh." I think I could do that. He's like, well, how did you get to that value? And I explained. I was like, well, if you do all these, individually, it comes as, anyways. And then he's like, okay, I don't have any cash on me. Do they have an ATM here? I was like, yeah, I think they do. He's like, can you show me how to
Yeah.
use an ATM? I've never actually used one before. What?
No way.
What? Yeah, that's how old school this guy was. He had never used an
Beauty.
ATM in his life.
You know
And
what?
yeah,
That's exactly what you get, I feel like, at the M&L card show in St. Catharines. You meet some really good guys that have been in the hobby for a long time, and
forever.
I've had so many good conversations. Obviously, I went to Brock University, so that was kinda like the card show for me and Eric, but some of these old timers, if you like to say it, these hobby veterans have been here for so long that maybe they don't know how to send an e-transfer, but they could definitely, you know, work their way around a card show, that's for sure.
Yeah, 100%. They'll figure it out. So he said he had a few grandkids that he was hoping to leave some Tim Hortons master sets to. He had a couple that he was working on. So he's like, oh, if I could buy a full one, then that kind of helps me out. And there's a couple of extras that I had too that I kind of threw in that hopefully can try and help out the other set that he's working on as well. So it was I was worried I'd be stuck with that because not a single soul even asked me about it. It was set up
Hmm,
behind my table the whole time. Not
yeah.
one person asked about it.
Hmm,
And as I'm leaving, I jokingly throw it out to this gentleman, and next thing you knew, he was at the ATM taking out the money to give me, and now it's out of my hands. He's got it. I cashed in on it, and now he's gonna hold it and give it to one of his grandchildren.
sweet.
So win-win on that one. So
Love
I'm
it,
super
love it.
stoked about that. Yeah. Um, there's a colored show this weekend too, actually, in the GTA area. Copetown Steel City show in Dundas, Hamilton area. I've personally never been to that show. I don't know. I think you said you've been a couple of times, both as a seller and as a buyer, a patron and a setup. So is it worthwhile going to? What are your thoughts on that show?
I mean, it's a good show. I've been there, I'd say about 2 to 3 times now, made the trip from St. Catharines all the way down to for the Copetown show, sorry, and, there's some nice people there as always, the usuals, and it's a little bit of a smaller show, I'd say about 25 to 30 vendors, but similar to the M&L card show in St. Catharines, that's kinda like the vibe and the gist of what you're gonna find at that card show, so I'd say pretty similar, but the cool aspect of it is that they actually do on-site grading for their company. I don't know what it's called, but you've definitely seen their slabs before. So
Yeah.
if you end up going, make sure you ask because I believe that there was a special they were doing a couple months ago where each vendor was allowed to do one free graded card submission that would be completed by the end of the show. I believe it might have just been a special offer months ago, but I remember talking to a vendor about that and he ended up sending I think it was just like a base Austin Matthews card, like just a base
Yeah,
upper deck card.
I don't think I wouldn't send anything that's like crazy value to be fair. Just because I mean, I don't know. I don't care to have my cards slabbed and like my PC cards, like I don't like
Yeah.
slabs. I
Yeah,
prefer
you've
to
always
have
said that too.
one
You've
touch. I've
always said that.
always been a bigger fan
Yeah.
of like my PC cards in one touches, stuff that I want to display or stuff that I just like to look at. I think it always looks way better in a one touch, but I
Yeah.
understand the monetary value that comes with graded cards. And eventually, if you look to move on from stuff, it's a lot easier to do so with graded. Well, that's not necessarily true. All that I don't know. It's weird time in the hobby, I suppose. That's a conversation for another day. We're running a
Yeah.
little long, but we've got so many more episodes to go. Lots of conversations to be had. What was the other one we have? PWHL. That's one that we've got locked and loaded in the bank for
Yep.
one of the
Ready
summer
to go.
shows when the playoffs are done. And now we can get into this
Investments,
conversation
all that stuff.
about PSA graded cards and where things sit with the graded cards, not even just PSA, but graded cards in general. So we can get into those conversations over the coming months as well. But I think that's gonna do it for us here today on the show. You got anything else you want to kind of add in here at the end before we sign off?
I'm wrapped up. I'm ready for maybe I'll be in attendance on Sunday. So if you are there, come say what's up. I'll see though. I'm a little bit carded out. Is that the word? I'm a little bit,
Yeah, it's
not
fair.
not over cards, but it was a full weekend of cards, talking about cards, thinking about cards, buying cards, selling cards. So I'll probably take off this weekend, end up golfing and relaxing a little bit after work. So we'll see. But if I do end up at that card show, I'll make sure to say what's up to everyone and hopefully get some more deals done.
Yeah, say what's up to us too if you see us walking around.
Yep.
We got an Instagram now. You can follow us on
Actually,
Instagram,
yes.
Hockey
Yep. Yep.
Card
Yep.
Haven Pod. So at Hockey
Yep.
Card Haven Pod on Instagram. Go ahead and follow us. We'll start posting a lot more content on that page going forward as well. But that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe right here on YouTube. Eventually, we do plan on going audio wise for you on the go listeners. But for now, we're just sticking with the visual components on YouTube. We'll be back with another episode for you guys next Wednesday. You've been listening to the Hockey Card Haven podcast.